The Stack. People, Business, Technology. With Dan Tomaszewski of Everything MSP.
Hello, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here with Everything MSP. I'm here with none other than Bob Coppedge with Simplex IT. How you doing today, Bob?
I'm doing fantastic, Dan. Thank you so much for having me here. And thank you so much for asking me how I'm doing. And thank you so much for not stopping me. And thank you so much for not using that tranquilizer gun that's underneath the table.
Yes. So we're here at ChannelCon. We're in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a bit warmer than Michigan or Ohio
area.
Yeah, and I walked out of the airport the other day when I got here, and I was just drenched. Yeah.
And my understanding, at least in Cleveland area, it actually is hot and muggy, but it's Cleveland hot and muggy.
Right.
This is Atlanta hot.
This is So when they say hot Atlanta, they mean it, right?
Yeah. When they say hot Cleveland,
it's different.
it's just the temperature's high.
And
that's it.
Hot Grand Rapids, it just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It just people are like, "What are you talking about?" Most people are saying, "Are the rapids really grand?"
Yeah.
Right.
See, but here's the thing: we have, we're right on the shore of Lake Erie, and our lakes are great.
Yeah.
And if you ever want, because people, especially who live on the coast, eastern and west coast, they will brag about their oceans.
Right.
And basically, are they great oceans? No, they're just oceans.
They're just oceans.
Our lake,
it's
a great lake. It is defined. So it really, if you say that with enough superiority, it really will annoy the bejeebers out of people on the West Coast and East Coast, which I love doing.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and I talked about how they're from California, I think San Diego. Mm-hmm. They're close to the beach, and I'm like, I'm 20 minutes from Lake Michigan, and I'm like, that's our ocean.
It's a great lake.
And she looked at me, and she just kind of like I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like,
But basically, so you're in San Diego, and I love San Diego. There's some really neat things there. I love the eateries that they have downtown. Some really great stuff, which we also have in Cleveland, of course. But it's the Pacific Ocean, which is it's an ocean. It's a great ocean. It's a whatever, but it's not great.
Right.
It isn't. It's not even in the name.
She said, but you don't have salt water. And I'm like, we have fresh water.
Right, fresh.
It's fresh.
Fresh water. No one ever says, everybody knows salt's bad for you.
Right.
You get too much salt, it's bad for you. Whereas everything you want fresh.
Fresh.
Fresh is always a good thing. Plus, we have, at least in Lake Erie, we have surfing in Lake Erie.
Oh, yeah.
You can go surfing. Yeah, exactly. So we have surfing.
Yeah.
And you know what we don't have? We don't have sharks.
We don't either.
Yeah. So we're great. We're fresh. We're shark free, and we have surfing.
Exactly. It's amazing.
Sorry, San Diego.
Yeah.
It's real.
So this podcast is converted from the Stack, where we talk about people, business, and technology. It's a Great Lakes discussion, right?
There you go. But it's about being great.
Right.
And being great does not have to be necessarily. It's just true. And I'm going to segue over to business.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna get spoiler alert. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
But when we talk about great, that does not necessarily mean being number one. It does not necessarily mean being the largest or the fastest or whatever. It means being great at what you do.
True.
And to be better than yesterday. And to constantly move forward, especially we're in IT, so IT is constantly changing and evolving. And to look to be better than yesterday, better than before, and especially as it relates to the goods and services that you provide for your client.
You're old enough. I didn't say you're old enough. We're old enough to remember, those good old days well before managed services, when it was all about sitting back, waiting for the phone to ring, hoping that your clients had problems so you could make money. Right. And then this managed services thing came out, and our jobs changed to be proactive and to be able to identify issues before they cause conflict in their environment. They might be small issues that they left untouched would grow into bigger issues that would cause conflict, and it would slow their business down. So things have evolved so much. And, when we talked about, what are some things that are, important for MSPs to learn about, you brought up the evolution of IT and IT services. So, where do you see there being fault as far as, I'm still stuck in the 80s. I haven't progressed to that next level in IT management.
Well, it's one of those things where when we take a look at, we used to talk about revolution, not revolutionism, revolutionary war, the revolution of industries, revolution of culture, revolution of society, as one thing that happened during a lifetime.
Yeah.
The industrial revolution, agricultural revolution, medical revolution, so on and so forth, that really defined. But this is one where living through this information, this IT revolution, it is constant changing. It is constantly finding new ways, both from a technology and from an information standpoint. And the skills that we know today will be obsolete in 5 to 10 years from now.
Right.
Not surpassed, but obsolete. And if, as an organization, we are supposed to make our clients more and more successful through their use of IT resources, if we are not evolving at nearly the same pace as the industry, we're falling behind. And the more we fall behind, the more of a commodity we are.
Right.
And, I started my MSP back in 2007, and literally from 2007, and prior to that, I was a CIO, I've been an IT director, I've been a consultant, I've worn just about every hat. But I've never been I'm only looking at the bits and the bytes. I've always been big picture. I've always been business oriented, so on and so forth. But it's one of those where if we can't envision what the next few years are going to bring from an industry standpoint and bring that to bear to our clients, we're a commodity. And my biggest fear since I started the company has been, I don't want to be a commodity. I don't want to compete solely on price.
Yeah. Why do you think that in our industry we become stagnant? And when I say we, I mean I'm not.
Yeah, not us.
Not us.
Not you. No,
right.
no. The people we know who look remarkably like us.
Yes, exactly. But why do you think that happens? Why is that, we're still seeing some MSPs, maybe not even call them MSPs, but IT service providers that are still stuck in those older ways of thinking, delivering the same things that they've always delivered and not progressing and changing with the times?
So first of all, because primarily most MSPs are populated by people, by human beings. And that, I think, is the first mistake.
Okay. Yeah.
Because human beings, as much as we love to talk about how we evolve, we don't. The evolution that happens is over generations. So it's one of those where so when I first got into IT, this was back in the late 70s, and there was no PC. There wasn't even really microcomputers. It was mini computers.
Okay.
And so on and so forth. I became the whiz kid, the wonder kid, because I knew some of the new technologies that all the other people were still working on, mainframes and all that. They were not accepting mini computers. They were not accepting CRTs, terminals, all that. They wanted to do punch cards. They wanted to do all these kind of things. And because I was young, I was more, accepting of some of the changes stuff. Same thing for the PCs, networking, so on and so forth. I have a hard time with some of the new technology because I'm not ready, because I'm set in my ways.
Right.
And we would love to talk about how we're adopting and adapting to new technologies.
Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah.
We really are not. We're paying ourselves a lot of credit that we're not doing. And, there's a bell curve in terms of who is adapting to the new technology. And, do the self-assessment. Take a look at yourself and your organization. What are you doing that's significantly different in 2024 that you were not doing in 2022 that wasn't sold to you by a vendor?
Okay.
But because you took a look at the industry and you said the industry is going in that direction, I'm going to go in that direction. Right. Either before or during or through or whatever. And if you don't have a good answer to that, you're not evolving with the technology. You're being sold stuff by vendors.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't often.
No, I totally. I mean, sometimes I have to Google things that you say, and I'm like, oh,
me too.
Yeah. I think I don't know when, but several years back, there was this talk about managed service providers won't exist, right? And I mean, is it just going to be a different, a different term, but we're doing the same thing? And are we just confusing people from that perspective, right?
Well, but this is one of those things where and I actually did I got my own podcast, and I did
What's
session.
the name of your podcast?
Something
about being
grumpy. No, that is everything about me.
That is everything
the
about
the crotchety geek, the grumpy guy.
Yes,
but it's BizTech Twist, and I was actually talking about Brad Gross, or talking with Brad Gross.
Yeah.
And that was part of the question: is what is an MSP?
Right.
Because I don't believe there is a definition of an MSP.
Oh, I mean,
there's several.
We're here at a conference where there are hundreds and hundreds of MSPs. And if we were to ask every attendee to define an MSP, we'd have every single one with a different answer.
Yeah, and don't get started on what an MSSP is.
Yeah.
It just gets even worse. Yeah. Or a TSP or an ESP or whatever.
So I thought an MSSP is when the keyword's stuck on the letter S.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or you want a reason to justify why you're going to raise your rates by double.
There you go.
You can kind of go either way.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we solved it. We solved it.
The second S should be a $sign.
Right.
But the thing is that when we talk about that, it is essentially, it's an external ongoing relationship to manage or maintain IT. Beyond that, I don't care what you call it, MSP. There's no question that a form of MSP, a form of service delivery, will exist for some time to come.
Sure.
But not necessarily the MSP that we know and love today, or that we knew and loved 10 years ago, which is different than today.
Yeah.
That is different from blah, blah, blah. The problem is that as IT matures, it is becoming more and more driven by the eye, by the information. You look at the last three things that have significantly changed the IT landscape. They are big data, security, and now AI.
Yeah.
And those three things have in common, they're all three really driven by data.
Yep.
All of the things prior, whether you talk about cloud, whether you talk about client server, whether you talk about internet, web-based, web development, web apps, software as a service, all of those are driven by technology.
Okay. Yeah.
So even though we're talking about all of the shifts that have happened prior to that, this what I call lowercase I, capital T, to uppercase I, uppercase T, to uppercase I, lowercase t, that is huge. And MSPs so far have done a very, very poor job because they're using the same skills that they were using to manage the T part of it to manage the I part.
Okay.
And that's leading towards a commoditization of the MSP market. And that's fine. The people who don't adapt will become really, it's a race to the bottom. They'll become, we're just selling, things by the dollar. And those who find the high level services, which really deliver the top level benefits to the clients, they're the ones who are going to be making the money. Will they still call themselves MSPs? I don't know.
I mean, I think what's missing from IT is either P or H, people or humans, right? Because we focused in the past so much on all the technology components, trying to wow people, our thing that separated us from all the non-geeks was that we understood this stuff and we felt like, oh my gosh, we're so awesome because, we know about these blinking lights and nobody else does.
And the other thing that separated us from them is they got invited to cool parties we did not.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I'm talking about you, Vicky Johnston.
Yes. And, and that's why when Bill Gates, and Paul Allen would dance on stage, that's why they danced that way. Yeah. And that's why they never were invited to those parties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that human element is missing. And I guess what I mean by that is, the conversations that we want to have with our clients need to be something that totally resonates with them about their business. We can go in there and talk about that, this laptop today, it's got an SSD and it's so fast and it can do this and it can do that. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And
so let's take that in a slightly different perspective, because I think this is a big part of this whole IT transition, is the fact that we used to think that we could only do so much in terms of human productivity. We gave you Office.
Right.
We gave you a computer that connected to the internet, and we gave you Google. Now you go figure out the rest.
Sure.
So we would teach you how to use the tools, and we would give you some highfalutin business training or that sort of thing. But we wouldn't necessarily give you tools that directly had to do with the productivity that you brought to bear as far as your job goes.
Right.
Okay, now let's start talking about, again, big data, security, and AI. Even from security standpoint, what are the biggest solutions as far as minimizing cyber risk? Educating your users.
Right.
Educating your users. What's a great way to take advantage of the data that your organization has created and accumulated to make it so that your employees are empowered to use business intelligence tools, to use any of the kind of business analytics, data analytics, so on and so forth, so they can ask intelligent questions based on their knowledge of what their job is and so on and so forth. And we can actually use the data. We're not talking about technology here. We're talking about using the data, using the information. AI, triply so. You talk to anybody, and we heard some keynotes here at CompTIA's event, ChowCon, where we were talking about how people worry about losing jobs because of AI. And certain jobs will be lost, but a lot of more jobs will be created with significantly greater superpowers, because people will be able to ask questions that they don't have to become a programmer to ask the questions, but they have to know how to probe into the information using AI tools, using BI tools, so on and so forth. And they're going to have these great superpowers. And so this is one of the questions we do in Simplex IT. We do some of the training for our end users, because one of the things I always ask my clients is, if you buy a $3,000 PC to replace an older PC for your employee, is that going to improve the productivity of the employee any? Mm-hmm. And the answer is, well, not really, but they need something because it's starting to get a little bit older and slower. Right. Why are we doing this then? Why can't we spend just a little bit more time and money to actually make it so that person can use the computer more intelligently? Right. In which case, now we're really bringing some additional value. And more importantly, the employee is bringing additional value to the organization as well.
Do you think that, part of it is that we take so much for granted because we understand this, and I've had scenarios where I'm doing something and someone sees me do it and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what did you just do?"
Right.
And I've thought in the past about okay, if we're going to do training for clients, what would we train them on? And you're like, gosh, what the hell can we train them on? Because, all the things that, we would think about, we're like, well, we know how to do that. We know how to do that. But we need to better understand what our clients know and what they don't know. And we also have to stop saying that's not my department when we talk about the business side, right? Because it needs to be our department, because they don't, technology isn't their business. Technology is a tool that they use in their business, but their business is their business, and we need to learn about their business.
Yeah,
I just said business 3 times in a row.
No, I do, and I appreciate you giving me the business to that level. Business. So, but let's take that a step further. If all I do is make sure the lights blink when they're supposed to blink, if that's all I do, I am a commodity.
Right.
And every year, more and more tools are coming out with ways to automate that. In which case, I'm not only my commodity, but I'm being replaced by automation that's going to be pennies on the dollar.
Right.
I'm in trouble if that's all I do. Similarly, there has to be a 2-level split here, because on the one hand, I've got to be able to know enough about their business so that when an end user talks about what their day is like, what they do, how they do it, so on and so forth, that I can say, there may be a way to do that better. There may be a way to do that smarter. There may be a way to do something additionally. Similarly, when the employee, and by this could be the employee manager, the client management, anybody at the client side, when they look at what they've got to do today, they should have enough idea about technology so that I wonder if there's a better way to do that. And not be afraid on either party to reach across that barrier.
Right.
And to say, hey, let me tell you about what I do for 3 hours a week.
Right.
And you tell me if there's a better way to do it. Or for me to say, I've noticed that you were doing this. Could there be a better way to do this? Let me give you an example. So we got a client in the transportation industry, and we were talking about business continuity and what are our plans and all that kind of fun stuff. And we were talking about how what we can do to make sure that their goods and services were delivered in case there was any kind of outage, whether it be hardware failure, looking for the single points of failure, so on and so forth. And one of the management folks mentioned, yeah, because one of our clients got hit by ransomware and they were down for like 3 days. And I said, did you help them? And I go, what do you mean? I said, well, did you reach out to them?
Right.
And he goes, I don't know. Why would we reach out to them? We were just delivering the stuff. I said, what if you actually said to all of your clients, and I'm talking about my clients' clients.
Right.
What if you reached out to them and said, hey, we understand cybersecurity is critical. We'd like you to know that if your organization ever got hit by ransomware, we still have your transportation schedules. We still can deliver the packages, and we are happy to make sure that you know that things are available, and we'll send you the schedule and all that. So now that sounds kind of lame, but what you're doing is you're basically engaging with your clients, showing how you care, showing in a proactive way how you'll help them in a very, very difficult situation. That's a differentiator. So to look for ways. For me to look for ways for our clients to improve their productivity and improve how their goods and services are going to be viewed. That's a great way to create that link between us.
Another example is, we had a client in a restaurant, and we talked about what happens if your point of sale system goes down. And, we were involved in the process of, essentially they were going back to handwriting the orders, bringing it to the kitchen, and, just that whole process. And we worked with them to develop a manual. Now, and that wasn't really big, right? But, a manual that said, if this were to happen, this is what you do, right? And, some might say that's not my department, but it is our department because, if technology fails them, we need to work together with them to determine what are those next steps while the technology is down.
If anyone says it's not my department, you're essentially saying, please come take my business.
Yes.
I mean, and it's one of those things where, and especially since for you to make it part of that goods and services, because one of the things I always hear is we lost the bid because we were more expensive. Or somebody else took our job because they were cheaper, so on and so forth. The amount of money that we as managed service providers charge is minuscule, or should be minuscule, versus the amount of value we bring to the organization. And especially if the value is not measured in the lights blink. Because they don't care, they don't know, they don't understand, and we're not speaking their language. What is, if someone asks, I'll say this test to any managed service provider, what is it that you bring that improves the goods and services? That is not we keep things running. We answer help desk questions. We make sure things are backed up. Every freaking puppy does that, boys. What do you do to increase their bottom line and increase the quality of the goods and services?
Well, the thing that is mind-boggling is when you ask those right questions. It's mind-boggling in the beginning when you're just finally getting that you have to ask the right questions. But when you start learning about their client workflow, when you start learning about where those bottlenecks are, and then you say, oh my God, you could do this. And this is what, our solution is to help you with that. And, and a lot of times it's tools they already have in place. They're right there. They don't have to make any new investments. And then all of a sudden they're like, holy cow. The mind-boggling thing is, especially in that beginning stage, if you're just starting to ask those right questions, is why the hell didn't I ask them these questions before? Because I just blew their mind. I just, this light bulb for them of I can do things so much, more efficiently. I can maybe reduce some costs. I can make a better, create a better client experience. And why did I not do this before? I just wowed them to a point where, again, when we talk about commodity, but we wowed them to a point where if they were to ever think about making a change, or somebody called them and said, hey, we provide these type of managed services, could we sit down and talk? If you do that, they're going to be like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
We have the best possible partnership. It's a true partnership, a team type setting. They're not going to want to look elsewhere.
Right. Now, let's pull this back a little bit, because I know what some of you are thinking who are watching or listening to this. One is, never knew Bob was this devilishly handsome. those of you who are just listening to the audio, not watching the video. But the other thing is, my clients aren't interested in that. And the answer to that is, they might not be, because you never brought it up.
Right.
And here's the thing. It's kind of like when someone switches over from break fix to managed services. I always tell people, do not try to convert your break fix clients immediately over to managed service when you're just getting started, because you're competing against yourself. When you talk to potential new clients, that's when you talk about process improvements. That's when you talk about, we'd love to know more about what your organization does as a business, and we'd like to work together. If we could figure out a way, and here's a great question to start with. On average, what's the hourly cost of an employee?
Right.
It's that simple.
Yep.
When you talk about benefits, when you talk about whatever, and usually the answer will be somewhere between 50, 75, or none of your damn business.
Sure.
Sure. So let's say it's $50 an hour. Okay, $50 an hour. So if we could, that's $100,000 a year. If we could increase productivity by 5%, that would basically be about $5,000 bucks a year.
Yep.
Is that a good improvement?
Sure.
Now, if we did that across, and they might say, yeah, it could be, or no, or whatever. So it shouldn't be that hard for us to look for opportunities, either for them to do the same job they were doing, but for 5% less time.
Right.
In which case they can go on to do other things, or look for things that they could be doing that they never knew they could.
Right.
Because of the data, because of the applications, because of online access, because of other low-cost services. But this is something that you can help them find. You got to make sure that they're aware. This is not you coming in and waving a magic wand. They've got to be involved with this too.
Right.
But it's something that probably the other MSPs aren't talking about that. The other MSPs are saying, yeah, we can do the blinking lights, or we have a security thing that you currently don't, or anything, which is obviously, if it's a security question, you need to do those as well.
Yeah, and when you go into a technology business review and you're having those business conversations, what really is amazing is you start to learn about things that you never knew about their business. And I've had scenarios like this where you walk out of a 3-hour technology business review, and I've told people this story, and they look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, they're like, what are you talking about for 3 hours? And I'm like, their business.
Right.
We learned about their business. They have asked questions that, there's even questions that they've asked that have nothing to do with technology. And there's nothing that we can do to help with that from a technology perspective. But they valued my opinion because they saw my interest and my care to help them through that.
And let me give you an absolutely, TBR is an absolutely ridiculously powerful tool, or a horrible tool, depending on how you use it.
Sure.
And there's two things about TBRs that are kisses of death. Number one is the ticket review. If you spend more than 5 minutes on a ticket review in a TBR, you're wasting time. You should already be reviewing tickets. There should not be any issues or anything. If a client has an issue he needs to talk about, obviously we need to. Otherwise, TBRs ain't the spot.
Yeah.
The other is the word upsell. I hate the word upsell. I think the word upsell should be banished from the MSP, because one of the biggest problems that I hear from people when they're talking about their current MSP and we're trying to replace them is they're always trying to sell me something.
Right.
So to me, you want to make sure in a TBR, you want to focus on risks and you want to focus on opportunities. You want to focus on risks in terms of making sure that risks are being properly managed. And in some cases, that means the client says, yeah, we're not going to pay that amount of money. We'll accept the risk, or we'll accept the risk for 2 years until we're ready to do it. That's okay, as long as they understand and they accept the risk and they accept the obligations. And the second is the opportunities. If they sit back and say, Yeah, we're thinking of expanding our sales force so that we're going to be doing some stuff on the West Coast, but we're not exactly sure how that's going to work as far as a CRM application or whatever.
Right.
Okay, what's your time frame? It says time frame. So let's take a look. Let's put a time frame together in terms of looking at CRM solutions and the like. Similarly, if they say, yeah, we're really having a hard time collaborating because we've got these projects and we've got the project teams and we don't know how to involve. Okay, let's put together some time to take a look at Teams. Let's look at Keeper. Let's look at using these tools to really consolidate what we're doing and approaching it.
Yeah.
If they buy into that, and especially if you've got some training tools and resources available to help them learn to use the tools better, now you're basically helping them sell whatever their widgets are.
Right.
And plan for that. And you can basically say, yeah, and remember how you planned on doing that 2 years from now? Remember how we planned on replacing the server next year? Remember how we planned on evaluating whether we're going to migrate to a cloud priority, for the organization, work from home, do whatever in 3 years.
Right.
Here's our rough budget. Now you've got this ongoing relationship that really transcends the day-to-day operational stuff. It's not that hard.
They no longer, maybe in most cases, will view you as an expense.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, you become an asset to their organization, and you don't cut something that's helping drive your business forward.
And you'll notice that you ended up what we call upsell because they want to do something that involves expense.
Right.
As opposed to you saying you should buy this product because you can do something.
You sold without selling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bob, we are at the mark where I think we need to go mingle with whoever's left here at the event. Still people running around, and I think the bar might be closed.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
son of a.
Yeah,
you tricked me.
I'm sorry, man. It's not a good thing, but I'm sure people have left stuff over. We can fill it into your glass.
There you go. I'm not proud.
Yeah.
I'm not proud at all.
Any last tip you'd like to throw out to our audience?
Quit thinking in tech. It's take a cold hard look at what you're doing and all that. What are you going to be doing different in 2025 as an organization, as far as the skills, as far as the deployment, all that, and what are you going to do different in 2026? And then what are the steps you're going to take now in order to start moving in that direction? If you are not evolving, you are falling behind. You're a commodity, and you will be squashed like a freaking grape.
Absolutely. The last thing that I'll add is carve out the time to do this. We get stuck in the hustle and bustle of what we do day in, day out. Carve out some time. Put it in your calendar that you're going to focus on your next thing, your way to turn your business from being a commodity to being something that's going to help drive your client's business forward.
Agreed.
So, all right, everybody. Bob, thank you so much for your time. As always, appreciate it.
Okay, now you're going to delete that video you told me you got from earlier, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, totally. And, I just a few moments ago, I clicked a button on my computer to remove the word upsell from the entire universe. So it is no longer,
I don't even know how you would have said that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So for everybody out there, we hope you enjoyed today's discussion. Bob, thank you. Everybody have a great day. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Stack.